The great ship Horizon floated in the endless dark of space. It had traveled for many years, carrying thousands of humans who had left Earth in search of a new home. At first, there was hope. People believed they would build a future among the stars. But now, the situation was different. Communication with Earth was lost. No messages came. No signals returned. The crew did not know if Earth was alive or dead. The humans on Horizon felt like ghosts drifting in silence. Supplies were running low. Food was rationed. Energy was fading. The captain, Elias Grant, walked the metal halls with heavy steps. His face showed calmness, but inside he carried fear. He could not let his people see doubt. If hope was lost, everything would collapse. One night, while the stars glowed cold outside the windows, a sound came through the ship's sensors. A faint signal, like a whisper. It was not from Earth. It was not from any human colony they knew. The signal repeated every few minutes, sharp tones, then silence. It was too clear to be random. Someone or something was calling. The captain called his officers to the command deck. Screens glowed, showing a distant star system, uncharted and unknown. Around the star, several planets moved, but one world gave off the signal. A pale blue-green planet, shining with clouds and oceans. "We have a choice," Captain Grant said, his voice firm. "Follow the signal, or drift until our ship dies." The room fell silent. Every officer knew the risk. The signal could be a trap. It could be a dying world with nothing left. But if they did nothing, they would starve in the cold of space. Finally, a young officer spoke. "Captain, at least down there we have a chance." The captain nodded, then prepared descent. Engines roared as Horizon turned its path. The ship entered the system, heading straight for the mysterious world. As they approached, the crew watched with wide eyes. Mountains, forests, oceans, it looked alive. But as the clouds cleared, strange shapes appeared across the surface. They were not natural. They were not human. Massive structures, glowing faintly, rose from the land like towers of crystal. They pulsed with light like giant hearts beating. In the distance, the crew whispered among themselves, "What kind of beings could build such things?" The ship entered orbit, scanning the surface. No human life detected, but energy sources were everywhere. Suddenly, alarms rang out. The signal was no longer faint. It was strong, was direct. It was not a random call. Was a message? Unknown. Language, the computer reported. The sound echoed through the command deck, sharp clicks and deep tones, like voices underwater. The crew froze. The captain looked at his people. "They know we are here." The decision was made. The Horizon landed on the planet's surface, its great legs sinking into the soil. The landing doors opened, and a team stepped out. The air was heavy but breathable. Strange colors filled the sky, shades of violet and gold. The land smelled of minerals and flowers, sharp and alien. The first night, the humans set up camp near a river. Soldiers guarded the edges, weapons ready. The colonists whispered around fires, wondering if the builders of the towers still lived. Here, children asked questions no adult could answer. Then it happened. A figure appeared at the edge of the camp, tall, glowing, its skin like crystal reflecting the firelight. Its eyes burned with pale blue light. It stood silently, watching the humans. The soldiers raised their weapons, but the captain held out his hand. "Wait." The figure stepped closer. Its movements were slow, careful. It did not attack. Instead, it tilted its head, like it was studying them. Then another figure appeared. And another. Soon, a small group stood at the edge of the human camp, glowing softly in the night. Fear ran through the colonists, but no one fired. A young human explorer, Mira, took a step forward. She held a small metal cup filled with water. Her hands shook, but her voice was steady. "We come in peace," she said quietly. The crystal figure reached out a hand, touched the cup, and lifted it to its mouth. The water poured into its glowing body, vanishing like light fading into glass. For a moment, silence covered the camp. Then the alien gave a sound, a low hum, almost like a word. The humans did not know its meaning, but the way it looked at Myra was not of hate. It was something else. The captain's heart raced. This was not the end. This was the beginning, and in the distance, beyond the glowing towers, other shapes moved. Watching, waiting. The colony had found life. But not just one kind. Many eyes were already upon them. They were not alone. The night on the alien planet was long and strange. The sky was filled with two moons, one golden, one silver, shining over the human camp. Fires burned softly, but no. One slept. The crystal-skinned beings still stood at the edge of the camp, glowing faintly like statues of light. They did not speak, yet their presence made every colonist restless. Captain Elias Grant stayed awake, his hand never far from his weapon. He watched the strangers closely. They had not attacked. They had accepted water, but he knew that did not make them friends. In the silence of the night, the sound of the river seemed louder, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The young explorer, Mira, could not stop thinking about the moment when the crystal being had touched her cup. It had felt so calm, so curious, not like a monster, not like an enemy. She wondered if this was the chance for peace. At dawn, when the suns rose together and the sky turned violet, the crystal beings moved. Slowly, carefully, they stepped closer to the human camp. The soldiers aimed their rifles, but Captain Grant raised his hand. "Hold your fire," he ordered. The lead figure, taller than the rest, raised its glowing hand. Light pulsed inside its body, like a rhythm. Then it spoke not in words, but in sounds that echoed like stones striking glass. The humans could not understand. Dr. Karen Holt, the colony's linguist, stepped forward. She carried a small device, the translator, designed to record and analyze alien speech. She pressed a button. The device clicked and hummed, trying to build a bridge between two languages that had never met before. The crystal being watched her with glowing eyes. It repeated the sound, slower this time. The translator beeped, producing a broken sentence. "Peace, water, share." The humans gasped. 3 words. Simple words, but enough. Dr. Holt's eyes widened. They want peace. They want to share. For the first time, Captain Grant let himself breathe. He lowered his weapon. Slowly, he stepped forward and placed his hand on his chest. "Human," he said. "We are human." The being tilted its head. Light flickered through its body, and it made a new sound. The translator stuttered. "Aerith. We. Aerith." The humans repeated the word, Aerith. A sound like music came from the beings. It was not laughter, but it was warm. The first contact had been made. The Aerith led the humans away from their camp, toward the glowing towers. The colonists followed cautiously, every step filled with fear and wonder. The land around them was alive with strange plants that shimmered in the sunlight. Creatures with long legs and feathered wings moved in the forests, watching but not attacking. When they reached the towers, the humans stared in awe. The structures were not built of stone or metal. They seemed to grow from the ground, like living crystals shaped by time. Energy hummed through them, making the air vibrate. Inside, glowing patterns lit the walls, shifting like liquid fire. The Aerith touched the walls, and the light responded. Images appeared in the air, pictures made of light, stars, planets, other shapes that looked like ships. The humans realized it was history. The Aerith were showing them their story. Dr. Holt recorded everything, struggling to keep up. "They had allies," she whispered. different races. They lived here together once. But then the images changed. The light darkened. Shapes of machines appeared, sharp and merciless. The pictures showed destruction, towers falling, beings fleeing into darkness. The humans shivered. The message was clear. The Aerith had once lived in peace with others, but an enemy had come. An enemy of machines. And the war had left scars. Captain Grant looked at the Aerith leader. Is the enemy still out there? He asked softly. The translator hesitated, then spoke in its broken voice. Far, waiting. Silence fell in the tower. The humans understood. The machines were not gone. They were only waiting as the day passed. The humans shared food with the Aerith. The glowing beings did not eat like humans. Instead, they absorbed energy from the crystals around them. But they accepted the gifts politely, touching the food and returning soft lights of thanks. Children from the colony laughed when one of the smaller Aerith imitated them, copying their steps like a playful shadow. Fear slowly faded into curiosity. For the first time since they lost Earth, the colonists felt a spark of hope, yet not all humans trusted easily. Lieutenant Harris, the security chief, whispered to the captain that it was dangerous. They're hiding something. Look at them. They're not telling us everything. What if they brought the machines here? Grant shook his head. No, they're survivors, like us. But even as he spoke, his mind held doubt. The Aerith were kind, but the images of war still burned in his thoughts. That night, as the humans returned to their camp, the Aerith stood at the edge once more, watching silently. Myra lay awake, staring at the sky. She wondered what else lived out there. If the Aerith were real, then how many other races waited in the dark? And would they all be friends? The fire burned low. Beyond the trees, something moved. Not Aerith, not human. Shadows shifted, eyes glowing faintly red. The first contact was not the last. The next days on the alien world were filled with tension and wonder. The humans and the crystal-skinned Aerith kept meeting near the glowing towers. Simple words passed between them through the translator. Peace, water, share, learn. But behind every word, there were questions too deep for language to answer. Captain Elias Grant stood on a rise overlooking the valley. From there, he could see both the human camp and the shining towers of the Aerith, two worlds standing side by side. He wondered if they could truly live together or if fear would pull them apart. Dr. Karen Holt worked endlessly with the translator. Each day she unlocked new words. The Aerith spoke of stars, of trade, of families once spread across many planets. They spoke of others like them, different races who had lived together in unity long ago. One morning, the Aerith leader, who now called himself Vale in the human tongue, invited the colonists into a deeper chamber beneath the towers. The air inside glowed with soft blue light. Strange carvings covered the walls, telling stories of history older than human memory. The humans watched as Vale placed his hands on the wall. The crystals lit up, showing images like before. Only this time, the humans saw more than battles. They saw other beings, tall ones with feathered wings, small ones with many arms, creatures that looked like walking forests. All different, all alive, all standing side by side. The alliance of races had been vast and beautiful, Mira whispered. It's like a family of worlds. But then the images darkened again. The machines appeared, merciless and cold. Whole planets were destroyed, alliances broken, cities turned to ash. Vale lowered his hands. His voice came through the translator. Together, strong, alone, weak, machines. Hunt, Captain Grant, understood. The Aerith were offering something. More than friendship. They were offering an alliance. If humans joined them, maybe they could survive the machines. But not all colonists agreed. Lieutenant Harris frowned as he watched the glowing walls. "This is dangerous, Captain. These creatures want to pull us into their war? We're weak. We're lost. We can't fight their battles." Grant's jaw tightened. Maybe it's not just their battle. If those machines are out there, they'll find us one day. Alone, we'll die. With allies, maybe we'll stand a chance. Later that evening, the colonists gathered for a council meeting. Men and women argued around the fire. Some said the Aerith could not be trusted. Others said this was their only hope of survival. Children played at the edges, laughing with the smaller Aerith who glowed like living lanterns. Mira stood up, her voice steady. "We left Earth because it was dying. We came here to live, not just to survive. If we only hide, we will lose ourselves. But if we join with the Aerith, maybe we become part of something greater." Her words silenced the camp. For the first time, the humans imagined a future not just as survivors, but as builders of a new world. The next day, Captain Grant gave his answer. He walked with Vale to the base of the towers. Slowly, carefully, he extended his hand. "Alliance," he said. Vale placed his glowing hand over Grant's. The translator spoke one word: together. The humans cheered. The Aerith pulsed with bright light, filling the valley with color. The hidden alliance had been reborn. But peace did not last long. That night, Mira went exploring near the forest edge. She carried a small lantern, its beam cutting through the strange purple leaves. The air was quiet, too quiet. She felt eyes on her. Suddenly, she saw it. Not an Aerith, not a human. A tall figure cloaked in shadows, with skin like dark metal and eyes that burned red. It moved silently, watching her. When the lantern's light touched it, the figure vanished into the trees as if swallowed by the night. Mira ran back to camp, her breath heavy with fear. She told Captain Grant what she had seen. The captain's face grew pale. "It wasn't your imagination. They're here. The machines." But when soldiers searched the forest, they found nothing. No tracks, no sign. Of life, only silence. Still, Grant could not ignore Mira's words. He called a secret council with Vale. The Aerith leader listened quietly, then said, "Shadows. Yes, they watch. They wait." The truth sank deep into Grant's mind. The machines were not just a distant threat. They were already near, watching, measuring, waiting for the right moment. Back at camp, the colonists celebrated their new alliance with the Aerith. But Captain Grant's heart was heavy. He knew war would come. He knew the hidden alliance was not just about survival. It was about preparing for a storm greater than anything humanity had faced, and far beyond the mountains. In the darkness of space, something stirred. Metal ships. With red eyes awakened, silent, patient, hungry, the hidden alliance had begun. But so had the countdown to war. The alliance between the humans and the Aerith grew stronger with each passing day. What had begun as cautious meetings near the glowing towers soon became daily exchanges of knowledge and culture. The colonists taught the Aerith about farming, cooking, and building with steel. In return, the Aerith shared secrets of their crystal towers, how they stored energy, and how they healed with light. For the first time since the horizon was lost in space, the humans felt less like strangers in the universe. They felt like they belonged to something larger. Children were the first to cross the invisible line between the two peoples. Human children played beside young Aerith, chasing each other through forests and streams. They laughed at differences, never afraid of them. To the children, crystal skin and glowing eyes were not frightening. They were fascinating, but as the bond deepened, something no one expected began to happen. Mira was the first to notice. She had grown close to an Arith named Soren, a being whose glow was softer than the others and whose curiosity about humans was endless. They spent long evenings talking, teaching each other words, sharing stories of Earth and the stars. What began as friendship turned into something more. When she told Captain Grant, he was silent for a long moment. "It will change everything," he said. "It already has," Mira replied softly. Months passed. Others followed Mira's path. Human and Aerith began to form bonds that went beyond trade or learning. Families began to grow strange, new families that no one had ever imagined. The first child born of human and Aerith blood shocked everyone. The baby's skin shimmered faintly like glass, yet her eyes were dark and human. She cried with a voice that echoed like music. The colonists called her Hope. Hope became a symbol. She was proof that two races could become one. More children followed, each unique, each carrying the strengths of both parents. They were faster, stronger, and their senses were sharper than normal humans. The Aerith saw them as the future of unity. But not all humans agreed. Lieutenant Harris stood in the council firelight, his face hard. "This is wrong," he said. "We are mixing ourselves out of existence. These children are not human. We came here to survive as humans, not to lose what we are." Others argued back. "Survival means change," Mira told him. "If Earth is gone, then this is our new path. The children are proof that we can build a future in this galaxy." Still, the division grew. Some colonists whispered of danger. They feared the children, feared that one day they would be more powerful than their parents. Fear became a shadow that no alliance could fully erase. Meanwhile, Vale, the leader of the Aerith, spoke with Captain Grant. His words were slow and heavy. "The hybrids are strong. They are the bridge. But bridges can break." Grant understood. The children could unite the colony and the Aerith, but they could also be the reason for war from within, or from enemies outside. And enemies were already watching. Far beyond the forests, scouts reported strange movements. Metallic shapes glimpsed between trees, red lights flickering in the night. The machines were not gone. They were closer now, studying the humans and their new children. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Mira walked with her daughter, Hope, near the river. The child reached into the water, and the river itself glowed faintly under her touch. Mira gasped. Hope smiled, unaware of the wonder she had just shown. She was different. More connected to this world than either human or ERY, from the shadows across the water. A pair of red eyes blinked, silent, watching. Measuring that night, Captain Grant called another council. "The machines know he said. They've seen the children. To them, these hybrids are a threat. They will not allow this future to exist." The colonists grew silent. The fire crackled. The night pressed close. Everyone knew what he said was true. The hybrids were the future, but they were also a target. Mira held Hope close as she spoke. "Then we fight for them. Because if these children live, we all live. If they die, everything dies with them." The Aerith pulsed with bright light, a sign of agreement. Together, Vale said firmly, and so the humans and the Aerith began to prepare. The children, still young, were kept safe in the towers. But already their presence had changed everything. They were more than just symbols. They were a promise that unity could survive in a galaxy ruled by fear. The cross-blood future had begun. But in the darkness, the machines whispered to each other. They had seen the new children, and to them, unity was corruption. Soon, they would strike. The colony had lived in uneasy peace for many months. Humans and Aerith worked side by side, building homes, sharing food, and protecting the children, who were born of both races. These hybrids grew quickly, stronger than ordinary humans, brighter than ordinary Aerith. They laughed freely, unaware that their very existence was a challenge to the universe. But beyond the forests, hidden in the mountains, the machines were already awake. They had been waiting, watching. For them, time was endless. To them, patience was a weapon. It began one night when the two moons hung heavy over the valley. A sudden sound shook the camp. A piercing hum, sharp enough to rattle the bones. Lights in the human shelters flickered, then died. Generators failed, weapons froze, machines refused to work. Captain Elias Grant rushed to the command tent. "Report," he barked. A soldier stammered, "Sir, it's not us. Something is jamming the systems. Something outside." And then they saw it. Over the ridge, dark shapes moved, metallic, tall as trees, with limbs too sharp to be natural. Their eyes glowed red, burning like fire in the night. The machines had come. The camp fell into chaos. Children cried, alarms. Blared soldiers raised weapons, but their rifles sparked uselessly. The machine signal was shutting everything down. Vael, the Aerith leader, stood tall as his body pulsed with light. "Shadows of steel," he said grimly. "The hunters have returned." The first attack came swift. A machine leaped down from the ridge, landing with a crash that shook the ground. Its arms unfolded into blades that glowed with energy. It cut through metal walls as if they were paper. "Defensive line, hold them back," Captain Grant shouted. Soldiers grabbed what they could, blades, hammers, even stones, anything that wasn't electronic. Humans and Aerith fought side by side, but the machines were merciless. Mira ran, clutching her daughter Hope to her chest. The child's eyes glowed faintly as she cried. Mira hid her among the Aerith towers, praying the machines would not find her. But the machines knew. They were not here for humans or Aerith. They were here for the children. They want the hybrids. Dr. Holt whispered horror in her voice. They see them as corruption. The machines fought with no fear, no hesitation. Every move was precise, yet something unexpected happened. The children themselves began to react. Hope, hiding in the tower, touched the glowing crystal walls. The entire structure lit up with a surge of power, brighter than ever before. Energy rushed through, the ground spreading like fire. The machines stumbled, their signals flickering. The hybrids screamed, but their cries were not of fear. They were of power. The children's voices echoed like thunder, sending waves of light that cracked machine armor. For the first time, the machines faltered. Captain Grant seized the chance. Push them back. Drive them into the valley. Humans and Aerith attacked together. Spears of crystal cut through metal while human soldiers struck with raw force. The battle was brutal, every strike echoing in the night, but the machines were endless. For every one that fell, two more appeared on the ridges. Their red eyes glowed like a rising storm. In the chaos, Lieutenant Harris shouted, "We can't win. We're outnumbered." Grant's face was hard. "We're not trying to win tonight. We're trying to survive." The colonists retreated toward the towers, dragging the wounded, carrying children. The Aerith created shields of light, blocking blasts of energy. Mira held Hope tightly, whispering, "Stay strong, my child. You are the future." At the top of the hill, the last stand began. The humans and Aerith stood in a circle around the children. The machines advanced, slow and steady, their blades dripping with sparks. Then something happened that none of them expected. Hope stepped forward. She was only a small child, but her eyes glowed brighter than the moon's. "Ouch!" She raised her hand, and the ground itself trembled. Crystals erupted from the soil, piercing through machine after machine. Light poured from her tiny body, a storm of energy no one had ever seen. The machines froze, their systems overloaded. One by one, they collapsed, their red eyes fading into black. Silence fell. The valley was filled with the smell of smoke and burning metal. Bodies lay scattered, human, aerith, and machine. The survivors stood in shock, staring at the child who had just saved them. Captain Grant stepped forward, his voice low but steady. The machines know now. They've seen her power. They'll come back, and next time they'll bring more. Vale nodded, his glow dim. This was not their full strength. This was only a test. Mira held Hope close, tears in her eyes. The child looked up at her mother and whispered a single word, together. And in that moment, everyone understood. The hybrids were not just symbols. They were weapons. They were the future. But futures always carried a price, far above the planet. In the cold of space, massive ships stirred. Entire fleets of machines awakened, their red eyes burning like 1,000 suns. The first battle was over. The war had just begun. The night after the first attack was quiet, but it was not peace. Smoke rose from the valley where broken machines lay scattered like dead giants. The humans buried their fallen, and the aerith sang low songs of light for their own dead. The children, half human and half ferrith, watched in silence. Their glowing eyes filled with questions no one could answer. Captain Elias Grant stood before the survivors. His voice heavy but firm. This was only the beginning. The machines will come back, and when they do, it will not be scouts. It will be an army. If we are not ready, we will all be destroyed. The words carried fear, but also fire. Everyone understood. There was no more time for doubt. They had to prepare for war. The training, the aerith opened their towers, revealing chambers filled with ancient weapons, crystal spears that burned with energy, shields that pulsed like living light, and armor that wrapped around the body like a second skin. The humans studied these weapons and learned quickly. At the same time, humans shared their knowledge. They built trenches, traps, and barriers. They taught the aerith how to fight in squads, how to ambush, how to strike and retreat. The two peoples became one army. The children trained too, though many thought they were too young. But the hybrids were not ordinary. Even at a young age, they could control energy, sense danger, and move with speed that shocked their elders. Hope, Myra's daughter, was the brightest among them. She could summon light from the ground itself, a power neither human nor aerith fully understood. Your children are the key, Vale told Captain Grant one night. But they are also the target. We must protect them at all cost. Grant nodded. They're our future. But I fear the machines will come for them first. The signs of war weeks passed, and scouts brought back grim news. Across the sky, strange shadows moved. Machine ships, huge, black, and silent, were gathering at the edge of the star system. Every night, red lights flickered in the distance. Closer each time. One evening, a storm swept over the valley. Thunder shook the ground. Lightning flashed across the skies. In the middle of the storm, signals screamed through the radio, sharp, broken, and full of static. Only one word could be understood. Purge. The camp fell into silence. Everyone knew what it meant. The machines were coming to wipe them out. The first strike, the attack, came at dawn. The sky filled with black shapes as ships descended, blotting out the suns. From their bellies poured machines of every size, tall as towers, small as wolves, some with wings, others with spinning blades. The ground shook under their weight. Their red eyes burned like fire. Positions. Captain Grant shouted. Humans took their trenches. Aerith stood behind glowing shields. The hybrids were hidden deep within the towers, guarded by the strongest warriors. The machines advanced, their steps heavy and endless. Then the battle began. Explosions lit the valley as human traps tore through the first wave. Crystal spears flew like lightning, cutting machines apart. Blades clashed, energy burned, screams filled the air. The Aerith fought, with grace, glowing with power as their shields blocked deadly strikes. Humans fought with fury, refusing to give ground. Together, they stood as one. But the machines were endless. For every one that fell, 3 more appeared. Their numbers were like a tide, dark and merciless. The hybrids awaken in the heart of the tower's hope pressed her hands against the crystal walls. She could hear the battle outside, hear the cries of her people. She closed her eyes and light burst from her body. The entire tower glowed like a star. The other hybrid children felt it too. Together, they screamed, and their voices shook the ground. Energy surged through the towers, spreading across the battlefield. Machines froze mid-step, their systems flickering. Some fell, their red eyes dimming. Others turned in confusion, unable to move. The colonists seized the chance, pushed them. Back! Captain Grant roared. The humans and Aerith struck with everything they had. Blades shattered, sparks flew, and the valley burned. The cost of war victory did not come without pain. Many fell in battle, human and Aerith alike. Lieutenant Harris, once doubtful of the alliance, gave his life holding a line so that children could escape. His last words were simple: protect them, protect the future. By nightfall, the machines retreated. Their ships rose into the sky, disappearing into the dark clouds. The valley was silent once again, except for the cries of the wounded. The survivors gathered, broken but alive. They had defended their home. They had proven they could fight. But Captain Grant's face was grim. This was not their full strength. This was only a taste. They'll return, stronger. And next time, they won't stop. Vale stood beside him, his glow dim but steady. Then we must stand stronger, together or not at all. Mira held hope in her arms. The child's eyes glowed brighter than ever, her small hand reaching toward the stars. She whispered the same words she had spoken before. Together, far beyond the planet. In the cold of space, the machine fleet was already gathering. Hundreds of ships, thousands of red eyes, all burning with one purpose. The war for survival had begun. The valley was quiet after the last battle, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of waiting. The humans and the Aerith buried their dead, healed their wounded, and rebuilt what the machines had destroyed. The hybrid children were kept safe inside the glowing towers, watched by guards day and night. Everyone knew the truth. The machines would return. And when they did, it would not be with scouts or a single fleet. It would be with everything they had. Captain Elias Grant stood at the edge of the camp, staring at the stars. His face was tired, but his eyes were steady. "They're coming," he whispered. "They won't stop until they burn this world." Beside him, Vale, the Aerith leader, pulsed with a dim blue glow. "Then we must be ready. Our children carry light. Their light can break the darkness." Grant nodded, but his heart was heavy. The children were powerful, yes, but they were still children. Could they really stand against an enemy that had destroyed whole civilizations? "The sky burns." The answer came sooner than anyone expected. One night, the stars themselves seemed to move. Black shapes filled the sky, blotting out the moons. Thousands of machine ships descended, their red eyes burning like a storm of fire. The ground shook as their voices echoed through the air, a single word repeated again and again: "Purge, purge, purge." The humans and Aerith gathered their weapons. The towers glowed brighter than ever before, their crystals alive with energy. The children stood in the center, their small hands trembling but their eyes blazing with light. The final war had begun. The last stand the machines came like a flood. Their numbers seemed endless. Blades and fire rained from the sky. Trenches collapsed, shields shattered, soldiers screamed. But the humans and Aerith did not run. They fought with everything they had, shoulder to shoulder. Blood and light mixing together, Myra carried hope into the heart of the tower. You must stay. Safe, she begged, but Hope shook her head. No, Mother. They are here for us. If we hide, everyone dies. If we fight, we all live. Her words were simple, but they carried a strength beyond her years. The other hybrid children stepped forward, their glowing bodies humming with energy. Together, they placed their hands on the crystal walls. The towers roared to life. The awakening light spread across the battlefield, brighter than suns. The hybrid's power poured into the towers, and the towers poured it back into the earth. Crystals erupted from the ground, cutting through machines like knives. Rivers of energy flowed across the soil, burning metal to ash. The machines screamed. Their signals broken, their systems collapsing. But they did not stop. They kept coming, endless and merciless. Captain Grant fought on the front lines, his blade covered in sparks. Hold the line, he shouted, though his arms ached and his lungs burned. He knew they could not hold forever. Then he saw the children walking out of the tower. Their small bodies glowed like stars. Their eyes shone with fire. They were not afraid. Hope raised her hand, and the sky itself answered. Lightning split the clouds, striking the machines. Other children joined her, shaping storms, raising walls of light. Bending energy like it was part of their blood, the battlefield changed. For the first time, the machines faltered. For the first time, the tide turned. The sacrifice but victory was not without cost. The machines unleashed their largest weapon, ship the size of a mountain, descending from the sky. Its red core glowed brighter than all the others. It fired, a beam of pure destruction tearing through everything in its path. The colonists screamed. Even the hybrids staggered under its power. The end seemed certain. Then Vale stepped forward. His glow blazed brighter than ever before. He turned to Captain Grant. "Protect them," he said simply. Then he hurled himself into the beam. The Aerith leader's body shattered into light, absorbing the blast, breaking the weapon for just a moment. It was enough. Now, Captain Grant roared. The hybrids raised their hands together. Their voices screamed like thunder. A single wave of power surged outward, brighter than the sun, striking the great machine ship. The red core shattered. The ship exploded, a burning star falling into the mountains. The machines broke. Their voices fell silent. Their eyes dimmed. One by one, they collapsed, until the battlefield was nothing but smoke and broken steel. The new dawn silence returned. This time, it was not the silence of waiting. It was the silence of victory. The humans and Aerith stood together among the ruins, bloodied and broken, but alive. The hybrids, though exhausted, still glowed faintly. Their power not gone, but sleeping, Captain Grant raised his head to the sky. The stars were clear again. For the first time, he allowed himself to smile. "We've won," he said softly. "We're still here." Mira held Hope close. The child leaned against her mother, whispering a single word: future. And everyone knew it was true. The machines were not gone forever. Somewhere in the galaxy, more would awaken. But now humanity was not alone. They had allies. They had children of two worlds. And they had the strength to fight. The new dawn had come, and the galaxy would never be the same again.